Hey, look at there. i3 oven. Dreaded F3 meg current error today. So we're going to chase after this guy and see what we can get done. All of our safety gear's in here, so we're going to get started. Alright, let's get after it. Got our electrical gloves. Got an older style i3 touch. So, gotta just discharge our high voltage capacitors. They should be discharged, they're self-dissipating, but, you know, you gotta do it. Alright, once that's done, take your safety gear off a little bit. You don't need to quite be as geared up. Alright, why are we here? So I did everything. I got our capacitors discharged if they were charged. And now we are technically safe to work on this. We're unplugged and ready to go. We're here because of an F3 meg current error. Literally every call is almost an F3 meg current error on here. So we need to get this hood open, and then we're going to start figuring out if it was an overamp or an underamp situation. So shouldn't be too bad. Sneak these out. Looks like I've worked on this one in the past. Oh. Must not had a noise maker on there. Put some gloves on, because I'm good on cutting my fingers today. Alright. So we're just going to do like a quick preliminary check on everything here. That stir shaft is gone. Yeah, that's gone. Look at that. So we're definitely putting a stir shaft in today. For sure. And you can see just the amount of black that's sitting in there. So we're going to chase that. First thing we should check is our fuses. Alright, so I'm going to go super basic on this. If you're doing a check on fuses, let's see if I can set this here. It's literally just switching to continuity checking, which is going to be this guy right here. And the 2 should beep when I tap my leads. So if I tap my leads, I should get a beep. It's going to vary by multimeter. I have to activate a button on here. So that's all we're going to do for checking our fuses. This should be the first thing you check pretty much every time you service these guys. It's going to help you decide on which way you need to go. So this is our 12. This is a 12. And that's going to be like the blower motors, the stir shaft, and the heating elements. And then the 20 amp, which is this one, is actually going to be your microwave circuit. So our microwave circuit is blown. In addition to the stir shaft being all junked out, I'm inclined to think we're also going to be chasing megs. If the stir shaft is that bad, something had to cause the stir shaft to get that bad. So it's probably going to end up being our Magnetrons. So we don't have to go too far in here to make some decisions already. We can peel these guys off right away. Alright, we have to get to our Magnetrons. And we want to get the stir motor off as well. So we know this guy is going to come off. So we could look up the service record on this, see when this was last serviced, see what kind of was done on it. But realistically, even if it was you and you were in here 2 days ago, you should approach it with fresh eyes every time you go to service. Just because you might miss something if you're not looking. In this case, I'm not going to look up the service record. It's a good idea. It doesn't hurt. But today I'm just going to go by what I see and move forward. So that stir shaft shouldn't have that much play. Then we're going to get this cover off of this fan, and I'm going to go grab my impact and some sockets. We got to get this guy taken down. I'll need a ground out. Be right back. Alright, so we're going to start getting these magnetrons out. The key thing with magnetrons, when we pop these out, there's more to this oven than just magnetrons. I'm going to throw on the screen right now the troubleshooting guide for the entire microwave circuit. And in another video, I will take some time and walk through all of the possibilities and walk through pointing at each of the items as we go through and what to look at. But the first thing you always start with is, let's actually get a physical look at these mags and see what their general condition looks like. It could be that they're fine and we just have a bad door switch. It could be that they're not fine and they're all blown up and we need to rebuild them. We'll find out. Also, apparently it's been a while. My socket doesn't cooperate. Alright, big reveal. Let's see what we got. We are definitely going to have some problems. We're going to have to rebuild these. So, as soon as you see a loose stir shaft, you should immediately question if your magnetrons survived that loose stir shaft. These ones, in this case, did not. These should be silver and not be burned like this. So this one is done. This waveguide is going to be done. Let's see what we got here. We know this is probably going to be bad as well. And that's even worse. So it's pretty much blown all the way through this whole unit. So when we have this situation, we know we're going to be doing our waveguide tunnels, our magnetrons, our stir shaft, our top jet plate most likely, although the stir did not fall on the top jet plate, and then our waveguide tunnel covers as well. So plenty to go through. Then we still have to figure out why it blew a 20 amp fuse. This would not blow a 20 amp fuse. So these two, as bad as they look, are not the reason we blew a 20 amp fuse. So there's another issue on top of this. This will typically cause a low amp issue, which after it gets below 10 amps in draw, so this average draw should be between like 14, like 16 to 18, somewhere in there. Once it gets below 10, then it will give an F3 meg current error. Or if it gets above 20, it blows a 20 amp fuse, which when it blows a 20 amp fuse, then it's going to be less than 10. Okay, let's get our filament transformer off. Then you can keep track of these. What a lot of guys are going to do is they're going to label this 1, 2, 3, and then pull them off. Alright, waveguide tunnel. And we'll get this guy off. Alright, waveguide tunnel, cover, waveguide tunnel gasket. So, needs to be swapped as well. So that all comes as one big kit. I'm sure you, if you're watching this and you are a technician, you are very aware of this because this is a normal repair on a normal day. Alright, so I would have you stick around and watch, but I'm going to do the same thing for that side and get that one off. And then we'll pick up where I left off. Alright, second waveguide tunnel is out. Next thing I would recommend, you can see this is dated 23. I'm not going to replace these, but I'm going to give them a good smell, which sounds kind of weird, but if they start to smell like burning electrical, these can cause a 20 amp to blow. But we don't want to just swap them out. But if I'm walking out to the truck, it's good to give them a smell test, see if they smell like burning plastic. If they do, time for them to go. If they don't, let them keep going. The store will let you know if they don't hold up. So, and then the next step is going to be actually getting our waveguide tunnel covers out and getting our stir shaft out. So for that, we will have to come up in through the cook chamber. Next thing we should also look at is you want to take a look at your relays. And this relay is a little smoky. So we'll take a closer look at that one. That's our K2 and our K3 and our K6. K6 is for voltage. K3 is for the door switches. Oop, I didn't even have that in frame. So K6 is voltage. K3 is going to be if you open up the door, that one actuates. And then this one is firing your mags. And there's a dead short between these two that causes the 20 to blow if you were to open the door while the oven was cooking. So that's where this capacitor right here, this delay capacitor comes in. You want your K2 to shut off before your K3. If your K3 and your K2 are on at the same time, it is a dead short to blow that fuse because guess what? You don't want to microwave people. Microwaving people is bad. So that's really important to look at this. The fact that this is original tells me that we should probably order this, ship it to the technician that has this store, and have him swap this out. This could be part of the issue on why this is blowing. In addition to that, it could be related to the door switches. All of that's really inexpensive to just order and take care of, so it's probably worth just taking care of this quick. And inconveniently, I do not have that part of my truck, but I'm leaning towards this guy being part of our big issue. So in the past, and I don't know if I've talked about it in this videos, but anybody who works with me knows I talk about servicing the trees separate from the forest. So like in this case, we have several trees inside of this forest, and we're working on the microwave circuit, specifically that part of the forest or these individual trees. However, in this case, while we're servicing the oven, we should look at the oven as a whole. The whole thing, the whole forest that is this i3 oven. And right now, as soon as I open up this door to service it, oh, you can just hear it crying. The bearings on here are so tired from being open and closed so many times. So we are going to chase those bearings, take care of those, make sure this actually snaps shut. It's got some issues going on there, and get a new gasket on here for them. That'll allow us to get this door aligned correctly, make sure the bearings are in good repair, make sure the tension on the door is correct, and that should help reduce our blowing of 20 amp fuses. Remember, the door plays just as much of a pivotal role of blowing the 20 amp fuse as anything else in this oven, because it's designed to do that to protect people. So we need to just keep in mind that that safety circuit is something we should be addressing every time we service an oven if we're going to take these side panels off, because it doesn't take long to do it. Oh man, ouch. Oh, that bearing is so tired. Alright, here's the bearing we're talking about. Oh, right there. So that bearing right there, you can just, oh, look at it. It's just crying to be replaced. So we're going to do that. The other side, too, is we look at these switches. These switches actually look like they're in pretty good shape. We'll see what the other side looks like, but they look like they were replaced pretty recently. So, the bearings, whoo, they need to go. Alright, this bearing's pretty crispy, too. So, yeah, it's time. So, we'll get those guys swapped out. These switches are loose, so you can see they're a little bit loose, so we're going to resolve that. One switch has been replaced. They all look like they're in pretty good repair. So I think we're just going to make sure we tighten this guy up. That'll be part of the final touches that we do for this, is make sure we tighten up our switches and get them in how they need to be. So, all right, let's get in the oven. Actually, we can take the door off. We need the door off to do the bearings anyway. So let's do that. And you do carry replacements for this on your truck. So if the screws look like these ones, don't put them back in. Also, that's a problem. We'll have to see if we can get that out. We're going to pop off the bottom panel here quick. It is extremely hard for this door to clean. There's no way they can, so we're just gonna take care of that for them quick. I'm gonna go get it tossed in that fog tank. Alright, we're into the beast. This probably isn't helping. There's a screw right there that's a little bit pokey outy. Those can catch on the, maybe it'll like focus on it. Those will actually cause the door to hold open, or can cause the door to get stuck. So we want to make sure we take care of that. We need to get the 10 screws out that hold up this top plate, and that'll give us access. I'm not going to film that because it's tight. So, all right, I'm going to get this plate down, and then we will continue on. All right. So here is the top jet plate. You can see it's going to need to be replaced. We had some heavy arcing in that corner. So all sorts of done. And then there is our stir. We got to get him out. Stir is out. Waveguide tunnels. Alright, we gotta motivate these not to be in here anymore. And then we have to clean out all of the sealant, and then if we have the ability and the time, we can sand some of this away and get that cleaned up. Alright, that's as clean as I'm going to get it today. Obviously I'm going to come back and I'm going to vacuum. You saw all the stuff fall down in there. I vacuum out the whole machine when I'm all done and get it ready to go. And then the store will most likely have to do a cleaning on it before they put it into service. But we'll get this guy all vacuumed out before we put it into service. So, alright, next we have to get the stirrer out. So that shouldn't take too much. Let's see if I eat my words on that. There were a couple bad generations of these that you couldn't get out. It's looking good. We're 3 for 4. 4 for 4. So we're good. And that, my friends, is a very sad stir shaft. So let's get him out of here. Now we're to the point where I like to clean everything. Everything is out of the way, so I'm gonna go get my vacuum. We're gonna vacuum out the whole oven, get it all squared away nice and clean, and then we put it together the exact way we took it apart, but this time with parts that aren't all blasted apart. And then we'll start tackling the doors and taking care of those items. But first, let's clean. That completes the teardown of this oven. And next week, we'll go into putting it back together, getting it ready for the store, and getting it back in action, cooking again. Thank you very much for taking some time to watch this video. We'll see you next time.